When it comes to home insurance, Geico works for you. And since I'm the Geico Gecko, I work for you too.
Hey, Gecko, could you DJ my workout?
I got you, Derek. I know you like them sweet beats on leg day. Great home gym, by the way.
That's fire, Gecko.
I call this remix, bundle your home and car insurance so you can save and get coverage that grows with you.
Oh yeah, rolls right off the tongue. And you know what else I like?
Air horn!
Aw, yeah!
Let Geico work for you. Get more with Geico.
Hey, ghoul friends, it's me, Adrian, or Ayden. Either way, I am still your host, and you are still listening to Susto, the podcast of ooky, spooky, scary stories centered on paranormal folklore from Latin American cultures. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me, and if this is your first time, welcome. You're finally here. Handshake, peace be to you, and also with you, and all of that stuff. So today is officially, well, the day that I'm recording, it is officially September 1st. I feel like everybody is claiming it as officially the first day of fall and Halloween. But listen, it's been a hot summer and I'm ready. I'm over it. I am ready to scratch that itch and have my Halloween time, or really to have everybody else catch up to us, right? Because I feel like, you know, we do the paranormal 365 over here. So it's exciting to see the rest of the world, or at least the rest of the country, reflect that. So very excited for the spooky times. Speaking of, we have some fun things lined up. So of course, we have some events coming up. I know that I said initially we were going to do something, and we still are. We're just doing a rescheduling. That's why I'm saying let's wait until the flyers come out before you all commit to anything. I'm just doing this as a heads up. So Haunt Happy Books in Lockhart, Texas, one of my favorite bookstores in the world. We will be doing something there in October. Originally it was the 11th, but scratch that. We are rebooking it. It's totally fine. However, there are two other events happening in October. The 10th at the Ruiz branch of the Austin Public Library. I'm doing a story time there. They're doing an entire event, and they actually did send me the flyer, so I will be posting that very soon. It's so cute. The entire event sounds like it's going to be a total blast. I am kicking it off with the story time, and you can find details about that on my social media pages. Again, that's at Susto Podcast on every social media platform. So you definitely do not want to miss that. It is a free event to the public, so go out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Additionally, I am also doing the Night Owl Podcast's Spirit Social on October 31st, Halloween night. That one is a ticketed event. I believe VIP tickets are already completely sold out, so make sure that you visit their website, thenightowlpodcast.com, and you can get your tickets there. I'm looking at the website now. Again, it looks like the vendor application may still be open, so if you're also interested in being a vendor at this event, you can go to their website, find the information about that. One more time, the VIP passes are sold out, but the all access pass and the panel pass is available. So there will be panels, vendors. It's held at the ballroom, which is a really cool bar. Again, this will be Halloween night. I did this Spirit Social last year and it was so much fun. It was a great turnout. Everybody there had such a good time. So I'm very excited to do that again this year, and I will see you all there. And speaking of events, I still have room available in the month of October. So if you are organizing an event, or if you know somebody who is, feel free to reach out to me, contact me via email, my website, social media DMs, or put me in contact with whoever you think I should be talking to. Speaking of talking, do you all like books? Do you like talking about books? Well, guess what? We are on to the next iteration of the Susto Spellbook Club. For the month of August, we read The Witches of El Paso, and in this month, the month of September, we are reading a book called The Trees Grew Because I Bled There by Eric La Roca. I wanted to Latinify it and pronounce it La Roca, but I watched an interview earlier to get the pronunciation, and they said La Roca. Or, see, I'm doing it again. They said La Roca. There you go. Do y'all ever do that? Sometimes when I read things, I read it hardcore Mexican accent in Spanish, and then I realize, oh, that is fully an English word. Either way, that is what we're reading this month, and it is a collection of stories. I've seen lots of really great reviews about their writing, so please, if you want to join the book club, it is open for any and everybody to join. You do not need to be signed up for anything, and at the end of the month, we have the public discussion. Like I said, you don't need to sign up for anything. However, Patreon subscribers do get to choose what we read, and they have access to the book club's Discord channel. So some perks with that, but totally not necessary. Speaking of things that are not necessary, but I still really like them, we are continuing on with reading some comments from Spotify. So this is just a fun way to interact with the show. And I like to hear you all's takes on certain things or your feedback maybe, or if you just have a compliment, that's also very much welcome. If you're listening on Spotify, you scroll down from the episode page, your player, scroll a little bit down where if you were listening to a song, the lyrics would be, and there should be a comment section for this episode. You can leave comments on individual episodes. So I think that's a really fun feature that I wanted to incorporate into the show itself. If you are an Apple user, sorry, that doesn't exist on Apple, but you can always leave a positive rating and review on Apple. I think it's a one-time thing only. So, I mean, if you have something you want to share in your review, please do so. But for now, we are reading the Spotify comments. So this first comment is from a Mike Ruiz on the Duendes episode, which just came out 2 weeks ago now, the Duendes Resurrection episode. And Mike said, "Hey, totally love your off-the-cuff comment on taxing the churches. Yes, I agree. Thank you, Mike." He continues and says, "Taxing the churches would automatically require the government to give them an influence in the political realm and allow them to speak on, promote, and push political policy that would be protected by the Constitution. Remember, no taxation without representation." I couldn't tell, Mike, if you were trying to be a little sassy with me, a little sarcastic, but at this point, I feel like the church already influences American politics so much, so why not tax them? That's kind of the whole point. They're literally in there telling their what's the word? Not parishioners, not convent, their community, I guess. They are telling their people who to vote for and how to feel and how to treat other people. So why not just, tax them already? This next comment is from Veronica on the Garita del Diablo episode, which is, if you remember, it's this kind of structure like a tower that's used during battle or wartime where military personnel would kind of stake out. It's like a hideout, I guess, but it's usually on the coast. So it overlooks the water and they're really old. They're really cool. People do tours of them. And Veronica said, "Hey, tour guide in Puerto Rico over here. So there is another theory. Apparently, he saw a woman instead of the devil and did in fact go into the ocean willingly and naked, skinny dipping for the devil, right? Or not for the devil, but for a woman or an entity." So if you don't remember this story, make sure you go listen to it. I'll link it in the show notes below. But also the story is that what's the word? Why can't I think of the word? Army, people that are in the army, not a veteran, actively serving. Oh my God. Soldier is, why could I not? Anyway, so the story is that this soldier vanished overnight. Like he left his things behind and he was just gone. And so the story was that he saw the devil in the garita, in this structure, when he was alone, and that you can hear like music playing because he would play the guitar. Obviously, I do a better job on the actual episode, so go listen to that if you haven't heard it yet or if you don't remember it. But yeah, now there's this new theory that he did not see the devil and he actually saw a woman. So I wonder, now this I feel like ventures into the siren kind of territory, right? Because we have the ocean or a body of water and we have a woman drawing this man out willingly, seemingly, of his own volition. So this is giving siren now, right? That's very interesting. And then Veronica finishes up here by saying, "He left his clothes and musket behind. Most stories say they found his clothes left behind." That is so interesting. Thank you for this extra take on this story, Veronica. Again, thank you so much for the comments. I'm having fun. I've always had fun reading them and interacting with them on the platform itself. But again, I wanted to incorporate them here. So feel free to leave your comments on episodes when you're listening on Spotify. With all of that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into today's episode, which you have already seen in the title, and hopefully future me edited the intro music to sound a little more appropriate. Today's episode is about UFOs over Teotihuacan. Before the Spanish, before the Aztecs, before even our communal memory itself, there was Teotihuacan. You stand at the edge of a vast stone avenue, flanked by pyramids that rise like fossilized clouds. The air is dry, the silence is ancient, and the stones beneath your feet, blackened with time, whisper secrets in a language no one alive can speak. This is Teotihuacan, a city built with purpose, with precision, with power. But by whom? We don't know. The Aztecs found it already abandoned. They gave it the name Teotihuacan, the place where gods were born. They believed it was sacred, a place where the sun itself was created. But the people who built it, their names are lost, their language gone, their purpose only guessed at. And yet, the city remains. Teotihuacan isn't a random scattering of ruins. It's a masterwork of urban planning. The Avenue of the Dead runs straight through its heart, stretching for miles. On either side, temples and platforms rise in geometric harmony. At the north end, the Pyramid of the Moon. In the center, the Pyramid of the Sun. And to the south, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, Quetzalcoatl. These aren't just monuments. They're aligned, measured, placed with intent. Some researchers believe the city was built using a standardized unit of measurement, a kind of ancient metric system. Others point to the astronomical alignments. The pyramids line up with the sun on solstices, with the Pleiades, with Venus. The entire city may have been a cosmic map, a mirror of the heavens etched into the earth. But why? Was it a calendar? A ritual stage? A message? Or something else? We don't know what the builders called themselves. We don't know why they vanished. And yet, the city pulses with meaning. Its layout suggests a deep understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering. Some believe it was a city of priests. Others, a city of warriors. Some say it was a pilgrimage site. Others whisper that it was never meant for humans at all. And then there are those who believe the answers lie not in the past, but in the sky. Because Teotihuacan is more than a ruin, it's a question, a riddle carved in obsidian and sun. Today, we are looking at 3 stories of people who captured photographs of an answer that left us with even more questions. Why are unidentified flying objects visiting this ancient city? June 25th, 1992. The sun was burning high over the Valley of Mexico. The time was 3 p.m., and the ancient city of Teotihuacan lay quiet beneath the weight of centuries. Tourists had thinned. The heat had driven most into shade, but one man remained. Baltasar Garcia, a solitary photographer known for his reverence toward ruins, wandered the southern edge of the complex near the temple of Quetzalcoatl. He wasn't there for spectacle. He was there for silence, for the kind of stillness that only ancient places can offer. But that day, the silence felt different. The birds had gone quiet. Even the insects, normally a constant hum in the dry air, seemed to vanish. Baltasar paused. He felt it before he heard it. A low, vibrating hum, like a distant engine buried beneath the earth. It wasn't loud, it wasn't rhythmic, and it wasn't natural. He looked up. There, suspended in the sky, was a shape that didn't belong. It was the classic flying saucer, metallic, domed, and hovering with a kind of deliberate stillness that made the air feel heavy. It didn't wobble or drift. It simply hung, as if observing. Baltasar raised his camera and took a single photograph. The hum grew louder, but not in volume, in presence. It was inside him now, in his chest, on his teeth. He stepped forward, trying to get closer, but daylight was beginning to fade. The object moved slowly, almost lazily, drifting across the sky. And then, without warning, it vanished into the haze. The birds returned. The hum stopped. Back home, Baltasar developed the photo. The saucer was clear, unmistakable, suspended above the ruins like a question etched in metal. He showed it to a few researchers. Some dismissed it. Others called it one of the clearest images of a UFO ever taken over Teotihuacan. November 13th, 2004. J.A. Scott wasn't the kind of man who chased mysteries. He was a business executive from Monterrey, Mexico, educated, rational, and grounded. With an MBA and a career in a multinational corporation, his life was built on logic, strategy, and numbers. But even the most grounded minds can be shaken by what they see in the sky. It was a quiet afternoon in Teotihuacan. Scott and his wife were exploring the southern end of the ancient city, near the temple of Quetzalcoatl. The sun was beginning to dip, casting long shadows across the stone. The air was still, the kind of stillness that makes you notice things you normally wouldn't. That's when he saw it. Floating above the horizon, roughly 5 to 7 miles away, was an object. It wasn't round. It wasn't saucer-shaped. It was polygonal, with 4 distinct sides and a short tail that flickered in the fading light. It moved slowly, too slowly. Over the course of 40 minutes, it barely advanced half a mile. Scott, ever the methodical observer, reached for his camera. He zoomed in to the maximum 12 times optical zoom and began taking photos in burst mode. 24 shots, 3 distinct series. He captured the object as it hovered, as it shifted, as it lingered. His wife watched silently. She didn't speak. She didn't move. Later, she would say the air felt wrong, like something had stirred the atmosphere. Eventually, the object began to blur into the dusk, and then, just like that, it was gone. Back home, he reviewed the images. In the third photo, the tail was visible. The shape was clear. It wasn't a bird, it wasn't a plane, and it certainly wasn't a drone, because those weren't available for another 5 years. May 4th, 2015. The weather was beautiful, and Teotihuacan was alive. The ancient city buzzed with tourists, their voices echoing off stone that had stood for centuries. Vendors shouted over the crowd, children ran laughing through the dust, and in the middle of it all stood Angel. He wasn't a historian, he wasn't a believer, he was just a traveler, alone, quiet, and carrying a camera he hadn't really planned to use. He had come to Teotihuacan on a whim, drawn by something he couldn't name, and as he stood before the pyramid, he felt it again. That strange pull, a compulsion. He raised his camera and took a photo, then he took another. He didn't know why. The light wasn't perfect, the angle wasn't ideal, but something in him said, now. And so, he clicked. Later, when he reviewed the first image, he saw them. 2 metallic objects hovering above the pyramid. Smooth, reflective, suspended in the air like they had always been there. Angel tried to reason with himself, considering it could be a number of many things seen in the sky, things that belong up there. But he couldn't rationalize it when he moved on to the next image. Seconds later, Angel had taken another photo, and the sky was empty. No movement, no blur, no trace of anything, just a clear blue sky. The objects had vanished so quickly, They couldn't have been anything slow. Not drifting, not floating, not falling. They had left. With purpose. Angel stared at the photos for hours. He didn't speak. He didn't share them right away. He just sat in his hotel room, listening to the silence, feeling the echo of something he couldn't explain. Three sightings. 3 moments when the sky opened and something unknown looked down. A photographer in 1992 alone in the ruins, capturing a metallic shape that hovered in silence. A businessman and his wife watching a polygonal craft drift slowly across the horizon. A tourist, compelled by something, lifting his camera just in time to catch 2 silver objects before they vanished without a trace. Each story is different, each witness unique, but they all share one thing: Teotihuacan. This city, this ancient, beautiful city was built with intention. Its avenues are aligned with the stars, its pyramids echo celestial rhythms. Its layout may mirror constellations, and yet, we don't know who built it. We don't know why. The Aztecs found it already abandoned. They named it Teotihuacan, the place where gods were born. But the true architects? Their names are lost, their voices silent, their purpose unknowable. And maybe that's the point. Maybe Teotihuacan wasn't built to be understood. Maybe it was built to be felt, to be witnessed, to remind us that there are forces older than memory itself, and questions with answers deeper than human history. So we visit. We walk the avenue of the dead, we climb the pyramid of the sun, we stand in the shadow of the moon, and we look up. Because sometimes, when the air is still and the sky is clear, something is looking back. Welcome back, Ghoul friends. Thank you so much for listening to those mini stories, that collection of stories. There's a theme this week, right? To kick off this month. First with the Susto Spellbook Club book selection for this month. It is a collection of stories. This episode was a collection of stories because with something like UFOs or UAPs, as we are now calling them, I believe, there's no like one story. I know there are very popular stories that stick out that people go to time and time again, but there are so many instances. I wish I had thought to ask ahead. I remember my mom actually telling me about something that she saw growing up on their ranch when she was a kid. She said that she saw a flying saucer, essentially. She saw something metal and that shape in the sky above the field, and she had never seen anything like it before or since, has she? So maybe I'll call her and I'll see if we can get it recorded so that I can have it in a future episode, but God, we won't get it in time for this one. So, but yeah, there's so many stories. So the first, and we have several links here that we want to get through. So the first kind of chunks of links that we have here, Jeff did a really cool thing. Thank you so much, Jeffrey Doyle, our ghostwriter and research assistant, for putting this together in this way. So this first chunk of links is how cool the pyramids are in general, such as advanced engineering, alignment with stars, and religious significance. And this first one that we have here is from Ancient Engineering Technologies. The website is ancientengrtech.wisc.edu. This is from the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. And this is on Teotihuacan. And just a quick kind of like overview and history about Teotihuacan that it has here is it says Teotihuacan was an ancient city located in central Mexico, which was prominent from 150 to 650 AD. At its peak, the city covered 20 square kilometers or 8 square miles for those of us not in the metric system, and had a population of 150,000 people. The city boasts several pyramids, large architectural structures, and art that influenced Mesoamerican life. And again, All direct links for these sources are in the Susto Google Docs on Patreon. But this continues the history. Beginning around 150 AD, an accumulation of different Mesoamerican ethnic groups congregated to this area. They created an irrigation system supplied by spring water and began constructing large-scale structures. Compounds and neighborhoods were formed based on ethnic origins. They possessed valuable obsidian deposits and also traded cotton, salt, cacao, feathers, and shells. Corn, beans, squash, tomato, avocado, prickly pear, cactus, and chili peppers were farmed on their fertile soil. Honestly, that sounds like all you need, to be honest. That is a great collection of crops. This says they hunted rabbit and deer while dogs and turkey were raised for food. Crafts and textiles were also created and exchanged. So dog lovers, turkey lovers, sorry. This is just, how the culture was. Kind of how we raise different animals for foods now. The collective we, I know, not everybody, right? But this continues. The Teotihuacan religion worshipped several gods that were often displayed in their art and structures. The spider goddess is thought to be the most important to Teotihuacans. Other gods that they praised were Chalchiutlique, the water goddess, Tlaloc, the rain and war god, the old fire god or the creator god, and Quetzalcoatl, known for agriculture renewal. Their large military conquered surrounding territory and expanded the Teotihuacan presence through Mexico. By 600 AD, many structures and works of art were destroyed, marking the downfall of Teotihuacan. The source of destruction is still unclear, but theories suggest either an external overthrow or an internal struggle due to scarcity of resources. City layout. So this is giving there's a graph here that I'll put up, of course, in the video. And this says a unique aspect of the city itself is the geometrical planning of the buildings and complexes. The layout can be described as symmetric and proportional, indicating that a master plan was used along with a standard unit of measure. Yeah, and if you look at it, it's got that long stretch that what was it called? The Avenue of the Dead, and then it's like Moon Pyramid, Sun Pyramid, Street of the Dead complex. You can tell this was planned. This was a planned thing. It's not just a group of nomadic people who found someplace and set up camp and said, this is it, and then just kind of build out. There was some sort of pen and paper that happened, whatever that may have been. This continues. The structures are aligned with two perpendicular axes. These axes intersect at the Ciudadela and the Great Compound, dividing the city into four. Most structures have an east-west orientation. Researchers believe this orientation was guided by the stars. And then this wraps up talking about the Teotihuacan measurement unit. It says many researchers have proposed what the Teotihuacan standard unit of measure was, but have not reached consensus. The discrepancy could be due to some structures being planned and measured with the standard unit while others were not. Although researchers cannot agree on what the standard unit of measure is, they do agree on its existence. They refer to it as the TMU, the Teotihuacan measurement unit. It is believed to be connected to the relationship between space and time. That is so interesting to use time as a form of measurement for physical structures is mind-blowing to me. It's such an interesting concept. That's what I'm picking up from here, right? This continues. Some researchers applied fractal analysis techniques to determine the TMU. A radar image and aerial photographs of major structures were used for analysis. In this technique, fractals, or shapes with irregular and fragmented patterns, which are considered isotropic, and isotropic is same properties in all dimensions, are used to estimate the fractal dimension of the image. From the findings of the fractal analysis, the most probable proportional multiples used in planning were 8 and 3. So, that's so interesting. This is the most probable proportional multiples used in planning were 8 and 3. See, my brain is just so cannot even comprehend this, cannot even begin to try and compare it to something else. I wish I could to be okay, so if you took feet, right? What would that be? How many feet would that? I don't know. This continues. To connect space and time, a hypothesis was proposed that Teotihuacans adopted the 365-day solar calendar and the 260-day ritual calendar. The two calendars have only one common divider, the number 5. By dividing the calendar days by 5, the numbers 73 and 52 are obtained. Both of these numbers are known to be significant. It takes 52 years of 365 days to return to the same New Year's date in the 260-day ritual calendar. The number 73 is known as Tonalpohualli's number in a cycle of 52 years. Okay, if anybody can make any sense of this, if we have any history buffs, ancient civilization buffs out there, I need you to please reach out and grab my hands and talk me through this because I'm having a hard time understanding this. This is the last paragraph here. It says, from here, it is assumed that the height of the Pyramid of the Sun was 73 TMU, or the Teotihuacan measurement units, and the height of the Pyramid of the Moon was 52 TMU. Okay, interesting. It's getting connected again. By dividing the known heights of the pyramids by these numbers, 0.8630 and 0.8077 are obtained. Since the actual pyramid heights are only estimates, this could explain the difference in TMU values. The height of the Quetzalcoatl pyramid has the least uncertainty in its measurement, and it's proportional to 0.83 meters. From these findings, it is proposed that 1 TMU is equivalent to 0.83 meters. All of that to say, a TMU, it's proposed. This isn't even like, okay, this is what it is, that the TMU is equivalent to 0.83 meters. That is the closest we've gotten to a possible answer. That is, again, I need engineers, historians, ancient civilization, academics, whoever, if you are out there, I need you to talk to me and talk to me about this and help me understand exactly what it all means. I would love to even have someone that truly understands this, like an expert, to be on Susto and explain it to us like we are 5 years old, because that is what I need. That is the level that I need you to talk to me about that. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. This next source is from Archaeology News Online Magazine, and it's archaeologymag.com. This is an entry about archaeologists reveal astronomical secrets of Teotihuacan's Pyramid of the Moon. That's one of the 3 pyramids that we've heard about so far, or 3 of the main structures. There's Pyramid of the Sun, the Moon, and then the Temple of Quetzalcoatl. But this says, Teotihuacan, an ancient Mesoamerican city located in the Teotihuacan Valley of Mexico, is renowned for its impressive pyramids and unique urban layout. It says, a recent study conducted by Ismael Arturo Montero Garcia from the University of Tepeyac in collaboration with the National School of Anthropology and History, I want to go there, suggests that the Pyramid of the Moon served as the astronomical orientation axis of Teotihuacan. This marks a significant shift from previous research that primarily focused on the Pyramid of the Sun. According to the researchers, the vertices of the Pyramid of the Moon are aligned to the northeast with the sunrise during the summer solstice and to the southwest with the sunset during the winter solstice. This discovery indicates that the Teotihuacans intentionally designed the city to highlight these significant solar events. Quote, the volume of the Pyramid of the Moon established a proportional relationship with the perimeter delimitation of the space, Montero Garcia explained. He continues, this frontality contained the visuals as a longitudinal axis that visually culminated with the facades of the other buildings. So essentially, and hey, I understood all of that. I'm going to explain it to you. It means that they were placed really cool. This continues. The team found that on the longest day of the year, the sun rises over the Chihungo volcano, which functioned as an observatory to calibrate the calendar, and sets behind Maninal Hill to the west. This alignment underscores the Teotihuacan's advanced understanding of celestial mechanics and their integration of natural landscape features into their urban planning. It's so interesting to think about how these civilizations were masters essentially of astronomy and geography and engineering. Again, they were, like we've said before, there were mathematicians, there were engineers with seemingly such little technology compared to what we have now. And I don't want to say primitive. I feel like that would be condescending to call it primitive, but there have been so many advancements in technology. Like we got Katy Perry on the moon, right? But this is like thinking about what they might have had. I'm like, what tools did they use? Like it couldn't have all been just, visualizing it in the brain. Or maybe it could have, who knows? And I think that's why there's such mystery surrounding these people, because of the things that they were able to accomplish with what they may or may not have had at their disposal compared to the things that we have now. It's so cool to me. This continues. And this is actually wrapping up here. It says, this is a cool title. Archaeoastronomer Aaron Gonzalez Benitez of ENAH noted that the city's design replicates the Pyramid of the Moon's solar orientations, suggesting a comprehensive urban planning approach based on astronomical principles. I know that Jeff loved this episode because that boy plays Cityscapes. If anybody has played that game, let me know. Sound off in the comments. Send me a message. Jeff loves that game. And he also loves the game Civilizations. He is on that computer playing those games when he's not helping me with this. So I know that he had a great time putting this together. This continues. This new model challenges the long-held belief that the Pyramid of the Sun was the primary astronomical marker in Teotihuacan. Instead, it posits that the Pyramid of the Moon, located at the end of the Avenue of the Dead, is the most important structure in the city. Again, and I'm going to ask my mom for $5 and to sign my permission slip so I can go on a field trip to Teotihuacan, because I need to see this whole place now. The next source that we have here is from the archaeologist.org, and this is an entry called "A Secret Tunnel Found in Mexico May Finally Solve the Mysteries of Teotihuacan." This is kind of a lengthy thing, so I'm going to jump around on here. But again, if you want to read the entire thing, it's thearchaeologist.org, and it says, in the fall of 2003, a heavy rainstorm swept through the ruins of Teotihuacan, the pyramid-studded pre-Aztec metropolis 30 miles northeast of present-day Mexico City. Dig sites sloshed over with water, a torrent of mud and debris coursed past rows of souvenir stands at the main entrance. The grounds of the city's central courtyard buckled and broke. One morning, Sergio Gomez, an archaeologist with Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History, arrived at work to find a nearly 3-foot wide sinkhole had opened at the foot of a large pyramid known as the Temple of the Plumed Serpent in Teotihuacan's southern quadrant, which I'm assuming is Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. This continues. My first thought was, this is from Gomez, what exactly am I looking at? The second was, how exactly are we going to fix this? This guy is an earth sign. He has to be. I'm going to see if I can find out, because that is earth sign energy, is like, what the fuck is this? How do we fix it immediately? But also, I'm sure that's just part of his job, right? This continues. Gomez is wiry and small, with pronounced cheekbones, nicotine-stained fingers, and a helmet of dense black hair that adds a couple of inches to his height. Okay, he has spent the past 3 decades, almost all of his professional career, working in and around Teotihuacan, which one, long ago, served as a cosmopolitan center of the Mesoamerican world. Yeah, very long ago. It says he is fond of saying that there are few living humans who know the place as intimately as he does. And here's our tour guide for the Susto field trip, is Gomez. This continues, and as far as he was concerned, there wasn't anything beneath the Temple of the Plumed Serpent, beyond dirt, fossils, and rock. Gomez fetched a flashlight from his truck and aimed it into the sinkhole. Nothing, only darkness. So he tied a line of heavy rope around his waist, and with several colleagues holding onto the other end, he descended into the murk. I love scientists and archaeologists because, I mean, I don't know, but I feel like there's so many times where they're literally going into the unknown. And this is a perfect example. Like, that is, I think, to me, that's how I understand their work and their study, is just going into the unknown and trying to figure something out. This continues. He descended down there. Gomez came to rest in the middle of what appeared to be a man-made tunnel. Quote, I could make out some of the ceiling, he told me, but the tunnel itself was blocked in both directions by these immense stones. In designing Teotihuacan, the city's architects had arranged the major monuments on a north-south axis with the so-called Avenue of the Dead, linking the largest structure, the Temple of the Sun, with the Ciudadela, the southeasternly courtyard that housed the Temple of the Plumed Serpent. Gomez knew that archaeologists had previously discovered a narrow tunnel underneath the Temple of the Sun. He theorized that he was now looking at a kind of mirror tunnel leading to a subterranean chamber beneath the Temple of the Plumed Serpent. If he was correct, it would be a find of stunning proportions, the type of achievement that can make a career. The problem was, he told this writer, and again, sorry, this writer is, I don't see a name. This is published in September of 2023. I'm looking for a name so I can attribute. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to find a name so I can attribute to who wrote this, but because this apparently was an interview, but I'm not finding one here on the page. So this continues. The problem was, he told me, you can't just dive in and start tearing up Earth. You have to have a clear hypothesis and you have to get approval. Okay, I'm going to skip to the end of this because there's a lot here and I don't want to just read off everything word for word. So I'm going to skip ahead, and I encourage you all to read this whole thing because there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. But this says, it wraps up towards the end, and it says, Gomez has one more crucial task to undertake: the excavation of 3 distinct buried subchambers located below the resting place of the figurines. So figurines that they found in there. The final sections of the tunnel, complex as yet unexplored. Some scholars speculate that the elaborate ritual offerings on display here and the presence of pyrite and mercury, which held known associations associations with the supernatural among ancient Mesoamericans provide further evidence that the buried subchambers represent the entryway to a particular type of underworld, the place where the city's ruler departed the world of the living. Others argue that even the discovery of the long-sought human remains buried in spectacular fashion would hardly close the book of the mystery of Teotihuacan's rulers. Whoever is buried here could be just one ruler among many, perhaps even some other kind of holy person. For Gomez, the subchambers, whether they are filled with more ritual relics or remains or something entirely unexpected, might be best understood as a symbolic tomb, a final resting place for the city's founders of gods and men. A few months after leaving Mexico, I checked in with Gomez. He was only marginally closer to uncovering the chambers beneath the end of the tunnel. His archaeologists were literally often working with toothbrushes so as to not damage whatever lay beneath. Regardless of what he found at the end of the tunnel, once his excavation was complete, he promised me he'd be satisfied. The number of artifacts we've uncovered, he said, pausing, you could spend a whole career evaluating the contents. That is so sick. That's so cool. I'm also going to try and see if I can find Mr. Gomez and see if he's down to talk, and because this was published in 2023. So if you're using a toothbrush to clear the way, maybe in 2 years they've made some more progress. It's been nearly 2 years to the day, but it's September 2023 is when this was posted. Wow, that was great. Okay, this next one is from ebsco.com, and this is titled Pyramids of the Sun and Moon at Teotihuacan. And it says, the pyramids of the Sun and Moon located in the ancient city of Teotihuacan in the basin of Mexico are significant monumental structures that reflect the city's historical and cultural importance. Teotihuacan, often referred to as the place where men became gods, was a bustling metropolis from approximately 150 BCE to 100 CE, with a population reaching around 90,000. The Pyramid of the Sun, completed around 125 CE, stands at 212 feet tall and is notable for its impressive construction techniques, including the use of a natural cavern beneath its base, which held deep cultural significance. The Pyramid of the Moon, which predates the Sun Pyramid, likely served as a burial site for key figures in Teotihuacan's history. And so actually on this one, I'm going to scroll down to the significance of this entry. There's literally a portion titled Significance, and this says, the Street of the Dead, or the Avenue of the Dead that we talked about that goes through the center of Teotihuacan, was ultimately expanded some 75 to 100 years after completion of the Sun Pyramid in 125 CE. Much of the construction that occurred in the earliest years of the metropolis centered on the Street of the Dead and the civic ceremonial heart of the city, most closely associated with the monuments of the Sun and Moon. Not until the period extending from 150 to 225 CE were residential compounds built beyond the civic ceremonial core of Teotihuacan. During the course of the next several centuries, Teotihuacan's political, commercial, and military might and prestige grew by leaps and bounds, and its wide-ranging influence was felt in many of the major Mesoamerican cities. The talud tablero architectural tradition that is argued to have originated in 200 CE was soon thereafter adopted in major urban centers and outposts of Teotihuacan found throughout Mesoamerica. In 650 CE, the palatial estates bordering the Street of the Dead and the towering monuments of the Sun and Moon were reduced to ruin in a conflagration that ultimately claimed the lives of a number of the most prominent, powerful, and elite overlords of the ancient metropolis of Teotihuacan. Okay, so this next set of links that we have here is about UFO sightings in Teotihuacan and surrounding areas. This first one is from nomanzone.com, and it's titled UFO Sightings in Mexico. This is published actually in March of this year, so really cool. The first one, it's kind of like, so, and again, this is just a list of several of them. This first one is Mexico City Eclipse UFO Sighting, a landmark event in UFO encounters in Mexico. On July 11th, 1991, during a total solar eclipse, thousands of residents in Mexico City turned their eyes skyward to witness the celestial event. Amidst the awe, numerous individuals reported observing a metallic disc-shaped object hovering in the sky. This incident has become one of the most well-documented UFO sightings in Mexico, captivating both the public and researchers. The sighting occurred as the moon obscured the sun, plunging the city into temporary darkness. Is this the same one? It may be a different one. So if y'all remember the episode that I did on Estefania Gutierrez Lázaro, which was the inspiration for the movie Veronica, where she was possessed. I know it's in the movie, but I can't remember if it was in the actual story, if they reported it, that because it was in 1991 that all of this happened with her. There was an eclipse in the movie when they were playing with the Ouija board. And so I'm like, was it this same one, this same day? Okay, I can't remember. I'm gonna put a link in the show notes for that. But yeah, I can't remember if the timelines line up, because I know that some sources say 1990, some say 1991. But in the movie, they played with the Ouija board during an eclipse, and that happened. So I don't know. I wonder if this is connected in any way possible. Anyway, this continues. Skeptics have proposed that the object might have been the planet Venus, which was visible during the eclipse. However, proponents argue that the object's hovering behavior and sudden accelerations are inconsistent with celestial bodies' appearances. The sheer volume of eyewitness accounts combined with video evidence lends significant weight to the authenticity of the sighting. This event marked the beginning of the prolonged wave of UFO sightings across Mexico, with numerous reports emerging in the subsequent months and years. The 1991 Mexico City eclipse UFO sighting remains a pivotal case in the study of UFO sightings in Mexico, symbolizing the nation's ongoing intrigue with the unexplained aerial phenomena, or UAP. This next one says, Coyame UFO incident, a puzzling chapter in UFO sightings in Mexico. On August 25th, 1974, an event near Coyame, Chihuahua added a mysterious chapter to UFO sightings in Mexico. That evening, a small civilian aircraft departed El Paso, Texas, heading south. Simultaneously, U.S. radar detected an unidentified object moving at approximately 2,000 miles per hour over the Gulf of Mexico, which then altered course toward Coyame. Both the plane and the unidentified object disappeared from radar screens around the same time. The following morning, Mexican authorities initiated a search operation. They discovered the wreckage of the small plane, which was heavily damaged. Nearby, they reportedly found an intact disc-shaped craft, approximately 16 feet in diameter. The Mexican military is said to have secured the area and transported the unidentified craft to a base in Ojinaga. According to accounts compiled by researchers Noe Torres and Ruben Uriarte, U.S. agencies had been monitoring the situation via intercepted communications. When Mexican forces declined offers of assistance, U.S. personnel allegedly observed from a distance. Subsequent reports indicated that all Mexican soldiers involved in the recovery died under unclear circumstances. What? U.S. operatives then purportedly intervened, retrieving the disc and transporting it to a secure facility within the United States. Skeptics questioned the veracity of these claims, citing a lack of concrete evidence and official documentation. Some suggest that the incident may have involved a clandestine drug smuggling operation rather than extraterrestrial activity. Nevertheless, the Coyame incident remains a topic of intrigue and debate among UFO enthusiasts and researchers. This detail about them dying in unclear circumstances, I'm very curious about that, because is it just suddenly and of seemingly natural causes? Were they violent deaths? Did it look like they were killed versus they just died? Or, I'm very curious about what that means. We'll move on to the next one. It says Mexican Air Force UFO incident, a notable event in UFO sightings in Mexico. On March 5th, 2004, during a routine drug surveillance mission over Campeche State, Mexican Air Force pilots encountered an unusual phenomenon. While flying at an altitude of approximately 11,500 feet, the crew detected 11 bright objects on their infrared equipment. These objects were not visible to the naked eye, but were clearly captured on the IR camera, appearing to maneuver at high speeds and altitudes. And there's a screenshot here of the video. I'm like, why wouldn't the actual video be here? If I can find the video, I'm going to put it in here for the Patreon video, but there's a screenshot here that we'll be putting in for either way. So there's 6 bright lights, and they're all kind of just like in a line. Anyway, this continues. The Defense Department of Mexico released the footage on May 12, 2004, marking a rare instance of military acknowledgement of such encounters. The video displayed luminous objects moving rapidly, sometimes appearing to surround the aircraft. The pilots reported feeling unnerved by the experience, adding to the gravity of the situation. Skeptics have proposed alternative explanations for the sighting. One prevalent theory suggests that the IR camera captured burn-off flares from offshore oil platforms in the Gulf of Mexico. These flares can produce intense heat signatures detectable by infrared equipment, potentially accounting for the observed phenomena. Additionally, the movement of the aircraft combined with the stationary nature of the flares could create an illusion of motion. Despite these explanations, the Mexican Air Force UFO incident remains a significant case in the study of UFO sightings in Mexico. The combination of military involvement, infrared evidence, and official disclosure continues to intrigue researchers and enthusiasts alike. Whether the objects were extraterrestrial crafts or misidentified earthly phenomena, the incident underscores the complexities and challenges inherent in studying unidentified aerial phenomena. Yeah, it is really interesting that a government entity would release something like that, which, recently has happened where the US government at least has been like, yeah, they're out there. We're kind of looking into it. But even then, I feel like, how do they make that decision of which pieces of evidence or what documentation about this phenomena do we put out there? Do we release? Do we give to the public? I want to know, like, what is that decision making based on, and what does it look like? And the last one here is Tepoztlan encounters a persistent phenomenon in UFO sightings in Mexico. This says, nestled in the mountains of Morelos, the town of Tepoztlan stands out as a focal point for UFO sightings in Mexico. This picturesque location, officially recognized as Pueblo Mágico, draws attention not only for its cultural richness, but also for the frequency of unexplained aerial activity reported in the area. It says, for decades, residents and visitors have described sightings of mysterious lights and unusual craft moving across the sky. On June 25th, 1992, this is when we spoke about, photographer Baltasar Garcia captured an image of a supposed UFO over the ancient ruins of Teotihuacan near the Tepoztlan region, and I'll put that picture up here. Researchers have included this photo in several compilations, reinforcing the area's reputation for strange aerial events. The town's mystique deepens with its spiritual landmarks, including the Tepozteco Pyramid, a mountaintop temple honoring the Aztec god Tepoztecatl. Many enthusiasts believe the region's spiritual energy and elevated terrain attract extraterrestrial visitors. Local eyewitnesses have consistently shared detailed accounts, and some have managed to photograph unexplained objects in the sky. Tepoztlan continues to draw researchers, travelers, and sky watchers looking for answers. Its unique combination of folklore, historical depth, and recurring sightings has cemented its status as one of the most prominent sites in the study of UFO sightings in Mexico. And then they have, there's a video that they linked to here from YouTube. It's called Mexico's Mysterious Alien Town, Spiritual Hub or UFO Magnet. ¿Por qué no los dos? Because I feel like this conversation happens, I've had this conversation with many people, is there, I feel like maybe not all the time, but at some point there is a crossover between what we would identify as paranormal or spiritual and extraterrestrial. So I think ghosts and aliens, I think they can connect at certain points. Maybe the technologies and the physics that extraterrestrial or alien civilizations or cultures, I think that they have access. I'm getting real woo here. The red string is coming out all over the place. But I feel like aliens can also be like interdimensional creatures. But I also think, well, yeah, that's kind of what spirits are sometimes, is they're interdimensional creatures. They don't exist on the same plane that we do, at least not all the time. So I don't know. Again, the red string, it's about to come out. I'm gonna look like Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And with that, we'll move on to the next link. So I have two links here that have, of course, we just mentioned about the Saras photo. So a good segue is there's also J.A. Scott's photo that I'm going to put up here. But just to kind of describe it to you, if you are not watching the video, is it's a square image, and on like the bottom, you can see it's the top of a tree line, and it just goes up from left to right. The tree kind of like takes over more of the space on the right side, and in the center of it, it looks tiny. It's like it looks like a tiny thing in this picture, but then they have a zoomed in part of it. It kind of looks like a squid. There's this maybe not blob, but it looks kind of like a triangle and then a tail underneath it. So to me, it's giving, or jellyfish. It's got that kind of shape, but that doesn't look like a natural thing that you would see. It could be a balloon, but this is so far away, and in the zoomed in picture, like you would not see a balloon's string like you are seeing in this photo. Like you can, even in the really zoomed out part of it, you can see a tail, and so a balloon would not look like that from that far away. You wouldn't see the tail. You would maybe barely even see the balloon itself. Baltasar's photo, I do want to say also, this is a really good photo. It's again square, and I'll use these for the social media images as well, but like there's a bunch of clouds, and the top right of it, it is like you think UFO, it is that classic shape. It is that saucer with like the dome in the center. It's dark underneath. You can tell it kind of looks reflective on the top, but the underneath is all like kind of black. It's covered in shadow, right? But it's just like classic UFO image, and it is kind of blurry and fuzzy because it's from 92, but it's also like a very clear image. It looks massive. I wonder how close he was when he took this photo. And then there's also a link here to Angel's or Angel's story. That was, I think, the third story in the episode today, but it's actually a link to an episode of Ancient Aliens, which I'm not sure how I feel about them. It's to me, it's weird to be like, there's no way that these people were this smart and this capable and they could do these things. It had to be aliens. That feels off to me, and I know it feels off to a lot of other people, but they do feature Anja's story. So if you're curious in watching it, it's an episode of Ancient Aliens, and it starts at minute 39, and this is season 12, episode 7, Ancient Aliens, City of the Gods, which is all about Teotihuacan. Who knows, we might do a Susto movie night for this. It's been a while since we've had a Susto movie night, so this could be fun to watch. Like, how long is this? It's like 40 some minutes. So that would be a fun, I think, maybe Susto movie night watch. And it's on the Roku channel is, where we found it. But yeah, Ancient Aliens, season 12, episode 7, City of the Gods, minute 39 is where Anja's story comes up. And we're going to move on to the last couple of links that we have here. So this is talking about UFO acknowledgements from Mexico's government. This is hilarious. So this first one is from NPR. It's npr.org. And this was published in 2023. And it says a UFOologist. How do you say it? Is it ufologist? Ufologist? A ufologist claims to show 2 alien corpses to Mexico's Congress. I remember when this went viral. It looks like this. It's allegedly remains of this, quote, non-human being that were displayed during a briefing. The pictures appear in the video. I'll post it on social media too, but you'll have to remember when this happened because it just looks super like seco, like this little dried out creature. It could very well be made of clay or mud or something, but allegedly these are alien remains. And I remember, God, people were just making jokes about this left and right when it happened. It says, and the hearing started with a huge surprise. Jaime Maussan, a self-described ufologist, brought 2 caskets into the congressional chambers. Okay, so maybe not a government representative, but someone who is presenting to the government. How do you get to that level to show this? This continues, as Maussan spoke, 2 men uncovered the caskets to reveal 2 bodies. The corpses looked white and like stereotypical depictions of aliens. Big head, little body, 3 fingers. Maussan said they were found in Peru in 2017 and are estimated to be 1,000 years old. One of the bodies had been pregnant, he claimed. These are not mummies, he said. These are complete bodies that have not been manipulated. Speaking under oath, Maussan claimed the bodies were non-human. Maussan and others have presented similar claims about alleged alien remains in the past. Scientists have dismissed them as either ancient Peruvian mummies or manipulated mummies. During Tuesday's hearing, José de Jesús Zalque Benítez, a forensic expert and a military doctor, walked the Congress through scans of the alleged alien bodies. He claimed the alleged aliens had big brains and big eyes, which allowed for a wide stereoscopic vision, and they lacked teeth, so they likely only drank and did not chew. The hearing also included remarks by Ryan Graves, executive director of the Americans for Safe Aerospace Organization. A former Navy fighter pilot, Graves was one of 3 U.S. veterans who testified in front of a U.S. congressional subcommittee investigating the existence of UFOs in July. Mexico's Congress also was shown videos of Mexican pilots struggling to make sense of fast-moving flying objects before them. We are not alone, Maussan claimed. On Wednesday, the day after the hearing, Graves distanced himself from it. In a post on X, formerly Twitter, he said he accepted the Mexican Congress's invitation, hoping to keep up the momentum of government interest in pilot experiences with unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAP. Unfortunately, yesterday's demonstration was a huge step backwards for this issue, he wrote. My testimony centered on sharing my experience and the UAP reports I hear from commercial and military aircrew through ASA's Witness program. I will continue to raise awareness of UAP as an urgent matter of aerospace safety, national security, and science, but I am deeply disappointed by this unsubstantiated stunt. There's just so many loose ends to this. Like, how do you end up with not one, but 2 alien bodies, one of which was pregnant since 2017, and it's just been kept a secret since then, and then suddenly you decide, hey, I know what to do. We'll bring them out to the public. We will physically bring them out to the public, not even whistleblow it or talk about it or post about it or videos, photos, and then have, the bodies for later, like further proof, but to just be like, well, why don't we ask the audience? Here they are. I think that's, I don't know. Hey, but what do I know? I am not a ufologist or a government official by any means. This next link that we have here is from aljazeera.com. It says Mexico legislators hold hearing on existence of UFOs, shown alien bodies again, it is the same kind of thing that we just looked at right now, but from a different perspective. This says Mexican Congressman Sergio Gutierrez said he hoped the hearing on UFOs was the first of other similar events in Mexico. It says Mexican legislators heard testimony regarding the possibility that extraterrestrials might exist and were presented with the alleged remains of non-human beings in an extraordinary hearing marking the country's first congressional event on aliens and UFOs. In the hearing on Tuesday, Mexican politicians were shown two artifacts that a Mexican journalist and longtime UFO enthusiast, Jaime Maussan, claimed were the remains of extraterrestrials. It's interesting the monikers that people are given based on who's posting them. Because on NPR, they did say he was a self-proclaimed, I think they said self-proclaimed ufologist. On here, they said that he is a journalist and a UFO enthusiast. A little bit more about the bodies here. It says Maussan said they were recovered in Peru near the ancient Nazca lines in 2017. He said that they were about 1,000 years old, according to carbon dating analysis by Mexico's National Autonomous University. So these things were under study. Again, but I'm like, how is the Mexican government just being presented these if they've been studied by a university? I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know, maybe they just really did a great job keeping it a secret and saying, we are going to do our own study before the government steps in and just swoops in and takes everything away from us. This says those same people that did the carbon dating, UNAM, they said on Thursday, it says that they published a statement first issued in 2017 saying the work by its National Laboratory of Mass Spectrometry with accelerators was only intended to determine the age of the samples. Quote, in no case do we make conclusions about the origin of said samples. So they were like, we just dated it. We're not saying what it is, where it's from. This continues. The apparently desiccated bodies date back to 2017 and were found deep underground in the sandy Peruvian coastal desert of Nazca. The area is known for gigantic enigmatic figures scraped into the earth and seen only from bird's eye view. Most attribute the Nazca lines to ancient indigenous communities, but the formations have captured the imaginations of many. This says, in 2017, and this is what I'm saying. So this continues. It says, in 2017, Maussan made similar claims about non-human remains in Peru, and a report by the country's prosecutor's office found that the bodies were actually, quote, recently manufactured dolls, which have been covered with a mixture of paper and synthetic glue to simulate the presence of skin. But it does not simulate the presence of skin because, like I said, it looks like it's made out of clay or mud or something. Like, that is like a fun Halloween activity that you do with a classroom of students or something. I don't know. Like, that does not look organic. Even like for like a decomposed, mummified, petrified, whatever it is, it doesn't look like it was once organic. So I guess essentially they ended up debunking this. It says the report added that the figures were almost certainly human made and that they, quote, are not remains of ancestral aliens that they have tried to present. The bodies were not publicly unveiled in Peru at the time, so it is unclear if they were the same as those presented to Mexico's Congress on Tuesday. Interesting. The session, unprecedented in the Mexican Congress, comes 2 months after a similar one before the U.S. Congress, in which a former U.S. Air Force intelligence officer claimed his country has probably been aware of non-human activity since the 1930s. See, that is the thing, is if a government is involved, the government already knows. I don't think they're being presented this information as new, or if they were, like, it's going to be kept a secret for however many years. This was since the 1930s, allegedly, in the U.S. Even if people have for decades, for the same amount of time, also been speculating and talking about it, the government is never going to let you in on what they know, at least not at first. Okay, and the last one that we have here, and this one I think we mentioned earlier about the Mexican Air Force when the pilots were in the air with and they saw those lines. And this is from abc.net. .au, Mexico Air Force video creates UFO stir. When I was going through that list earlier of all the different sightings in Mexico, this is about one that was on there. It says the Mexican Air Force has released footage of what a UFO expert said were 11 unidentified flying objects. In this image, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see 7 of them, but it says that there were 11. Picked up by an infrared camera as they whizzed around a surveillance plane. Longtime believer in flying saucers, journalist Jaime Maussan, here he is again, told a news conference on Tuesday that objects were real and seemed intelligent after they at one point changed direction and surrounded the plane, chasing them. Quote, they were invisible to the eye, but they were there. There is no doubt about it. They had mass, they had energy, and they were moving about, he said. After showing a 15-minute video, he said the defense ministry gave him permission to publicize. Okay, now I really am questioning the validity of that photo and this video. Because again, I don't think that the defense ministry would just give someone permission to share a video. I think that they would show up and show it themselves. They'd have a representative, an official representative, and say, I am from the defense ministry. I am from the Mexican Air Force. We are officially sharing this with the public, not we're giving it to this journalist and ufologist or UFO enthusiast, depending on who you ask, to share with the public. This continues. The ministry confirmed to Reuters it had provided the video filmed by the Air Force on March 5th over the eastern coastal state of Campeche. So I guess it did. I don't know. I guess I just don't know how anything works in the government. They really just handed over the footage. That's hilarious. It says, quote, "We are not alone. This is so weird." One of the pilots can be heard yelling after the plane's crew switched on an infrared camera to track the objects first picked up by radar. See, that I believe. That I am more inclined to believe now, because this video is like, if it's real, if it's authentic, hearing these pilots like reacting to this, yeah, that's strange. There's something happening. There's something with you. It says the film recorded by a plane looking for drugs trafficking near the Gulf of Mexico shows 11 objects as blobs of light that hover in formation or dart about, sometimes disappearing into cloud. I will posit, is that the right word, or present a different theory, is because I saw another video recently that reminded me of how people talk about brujas in Mexico and how they can transform and travel as balls of fire or balls of light. Now we're coming all the way back. We're circling back to spiritually paranormal and supernatural. And what if it wasn't UAPs or UFOs? What if it was brujas flying around in the sky? Because they're balls of light, they're changing direction. Fire, it's heat. Again, as we heard earlier in these IR cameras, these infrared cameras, they can pick up high heat signatures. Could be that. I'm just saying, it could be one of my sisters up there. This continues. Mexico's most popular nightly news broadcast showed the video on Monday night. Interviewed by Mr. Maussan on another section of the video, the pilots said they grew nervous when the objects, still invisible, turned back during a chase and surrounded the plane. Quote, "There was a moment when the screens showed they were behind us, to the left, and in front of us. It was at this point that I felt a bit tense," said Major Magdaleno Castanon. Mexico has a long history of fanciful UFO sightings, most of which are dismissed by scientists as space debris, missiles, weather balloons, natural weather phenomena, or hoaxes. Very interesting. I don't know. I want to believe. Welcome back, old friends. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode of Susto. As always, if you would like to hear your own story on a Letters from the Beyond episode, please visit the website, sustopodcast.com, or go to my link tree. That's linktr.ee/susto. There are links on either of those to submit your story, and it doesn't have to be something written out. It could be a video, a photo of a UFO, audio recording, anything you think that is ooky spooky paranormal and you would like me to share either on the show or on social media. Please send them my way that way. And before we continue and end the episode, I would like to share some gratitude for those of you who leave reviews like this one from Iris M. Iris said, "My new obsession. I am a woman-owned small business owner. My business is called Happiness is a Freshly Cleaned House." Very true. "I listen to your podcast while I am cleaning houses. I started from episode 1 and now into the year 2021. Oh my God. It's wild that we've been doing this for 6 years." Iris continues, "I am listening each day until I get to the most recent episode. I love anything spooky ooky, and I'm so happy to have found you. You are my best ghoul friend." Heart hands. Iris, you are my best ghoul friend as well. I'm looking forward to the day that you make it to this episode, if you've already caught up. So if you have caught up, let me know that you're hearing this. That would be really fun. We're time traveling, basically. So again, thank you, Iris. As always, leaving a comment on Spotify or a positive rating or review wherever you are listening is the easiest way to support the show. However, you can also support Susto by joining our Patreon. That's patreon.com/SustoPodcast for $3 or more a month. And as a Patreon subscriber, you get early and ad-free episodes, you get ad-free vlogs, exclusive bonus content like video versions of this episode for Best Girlfriends. Hello, you are looking at me right in my eyes, and more perks. And speaking of, we are going to end this episode with a thank you, a special shout out to this episode's patrons. You are Liza, Rachel, Alejandra, Luther, April, D, Josette, Sam, Mandy, Jules, Lori, Jeannie, Desiree A, Neressa, Rachel A, Marlene, Lainey, Desiree C, Carla, Ricardo, Vanessa, Maritza, Nieves, Manormal, Iris, Mar, Flor, Selena, Nightingale, Clint, Rachel W, and Armani. Thank you so much for your support. It means the underworld to me. It makes my tiny black heart grow 3 sizes bigger, and I hope that you enjoy being a patron as much as I enjoy having you here. Thank you so much again for listening to this episode. I will talk to you in the next one, and until then, no te asustes. Bye.